Good morning, everybody. Um, Hope everyone's doing okay. This is a big day for me. Um, Pretty monumentous, actually, when I think about it. Um, so I'll give you guys a few minutes to get in, get acclimated, um, make sure everybody gets the notification. Because I know it's about a 30-second delay between the going live and people getting notification of it. So I'll give you guys a little bit to get in here. Once the room is about, I don't know, 10, 12, oh, good, 16, that's good. Hello, Jeanette, Miss Williams, Teresa, Lori, my dear friend Tanya. How are you? This is a big, for me, when I say big, it's pretty big. Hey, Nadine, this is pretty big. Um, a little nervous, actually, weirdly enough, I'm a little nervous about this. Um, the purpose of reading the first two chapters for you is to try and get a feel from the people that it'll be going before. Um, to try and figure out from you guys what works and what you get from it, how you feel about it, um, your level of identifying with the flow of this book. I managed to finish a couple more chapters since. I am now in chapter 4. I'm now beginning chapter 4. So um, I sat down one day after only finishing chapter 1 and he just dumped chapters 2 and 3 on my lap, and I just couldn't stop writing. So um I figured I'd give a reading to find out how many people out there would like it, one, and two, how many of you can actually follow along. Because it you know it could be a little bit, for me, it came across, of course I'm a little bit more taxing on myself, but I want to be as honest as I can be without being too graphic about my, not just struggle, but the history of my pops and stuff. So um, let me hang on. Let me cut some noise off down upstairs. So the book is only going to. It's not going to be a very long book. Okay, I don't want it to be a long, boring read. It's only going to be 8 chapters long. I may put a bonus chapter in there, um, but it's not a super long book because I'm pretty concise with what I give you, and I can only hope that what you hear will be enough to explain things properly. So be a little bit forgiving, some grace, because it's my very first book ever. Okay, very first ever writing an actual book. So be be gentle, kinda. Okay, be a little gentle. All right. So here is my book called The Father and Fairness. For those who don't know, it is my biography, kinda, but it's more of a, in a story. It's different. It's more of an encouragement book than anything else, but it is a story. All of it is completely true, 100%, and no makeup. So, um, chapter 1 is titled "How in the World Is This Supposed to Be Fair?" Um, so here we go. I don't know why I'm so nervous about this, but I am. I'm genuinely nervous, which is abnormal. All right, here we go. The early morning coffee time was what really woke me up. The person I drank it with was who kept me that way. They say the memory of a little boy can be cloudy on some things, but the memories that deal with the heart never fade. I know this firsthand. My memories were special because I saw my dad off to work and welcomed him home on the evenings. My evenings were filled with amazement. He would come home and we would just sit and cuddle. We would talk about my day and what he did. We laughed and played with like kids. He marked his return home every day with a bit of candy from his job site. I remember very clearly those times because it was not just marked with the memory itself. It was tied to something and everything surrounding it. My father was many things. In particular, he was a security guard for his regular job and a cobbler for his secondary. The combination made for an extremely specific, if not rare, smell. You see, he was a very particular man. If he found something he loved and it worked, it was always used. My father was a cleanly shaven man. His features were that of a stoic king when he was not smiling. To be fair, that was not often. His salt and pepper hairs were so perfectly mixed with white and gray that it seemed artificial at times. He was a smoker, and if I'm going to be completely honest, it was his only flaw, even though smoking is what made his smell the marked scent it was. Now, remember, I said he was a very particular man. His aftershave of choice was Brute, and Old Spice was his cologne. It was a rugged combination. It never failed to leave me feeling like he could take on anyone and win. His hands added to the concoction. Being a cobbler, his hands were infused with shoe polish and shoe oil, contact cement, and fresh rubber. Try putting all that together in one deep inhale, and you would have my father in a scent memory. They were because of his work. They were his because of his work, and they were mine because of his love. I just turned 7 in February of 1984. That year was going to put me through more than I was ready for, but it was not waiting for my permission to start the process. My father had always had My father had always been a hard worker, and complaining was never his cup of tea. Nothing kept him from doing what needed to be done, unless it was a paper cut. Those things had his number. Day in and day out, he went to work and came home and would do the same and still have time for us. One evening, during our ritual time of bonding, I felt something very odd. A pulsing, almost like a heartbeat, but not anywhere near his heart. I asked him what it was. In his usual smirking reply, "Ah, that's just gas. Feel it again, I can make it move." It then became a game for us. At least, it is how he portrayed it to me. He never let on that it was a source of extreme pain, and so I ignored it. By early August, father had started to show signs that he was not as strong as he would like us to believe. I would catch him wincing in pain on occasion, grabbing his side and back, moving slower than I used to see him. Mom noticed it too. This went on for a good while, and he had always had the same answer for it. It's just a touch of gas. Mom bought this for a while. Then she demanded that he take himself to the doctor and have it looked at. He would say sure and that it was all good. Of course, time would reveal that good was nowhere near the word that should have been used. I woke up like I normally would every school day, ready to have coffee with him. This was not a school day, however, but it never stopped my body clock. It was always set in stone. This day, however, was different. Father was in obvious pain. Still, he trudged on with his routine and left for work. When he returned that evening, still made time for us, but was more noticeably tired. This would be the new normal for the remainder of his time with me. School started back up in August that year, and I was ready for it. Grades the year before were honor roll worthy, and I was ready for anything, I thought. By the time September rolled around, I was primed for a great year. Life, however, had other plans and started them in motion. An early September morning, coffee was had and hugs were given. I went off to school and my father to work. By the end of that day, I would be thrust into a nightmare that seemed too impossible to grasp, too monumental to be true, and too wrong to be fair. When I got home that afternoon, I had learned that father had been admitted to the hospital. He was not just admitted for evaluation, but rather given a bed for an extended stay. The doctors found something in that very spot I felt beating, the very spot that became a source of playtime. Turns out this was nothing he should have been playing with. He was in a way he was in way more pain than he had told anyone, and it eventually got exposed. My father would never make it out of the hospital alive. This was the start of it all. Chapter 2, the start of it all. Unbeknownst to me, father had come by the school that morning of his admission to the hospital. His purpose was extremely clear to him, albeit not for the rest of us. His purpose was to hand off what he considered to be a very important asset, me. He talked to Mrs. Norma, my favorite teacher. He relayed to her, I found out much, much later, that he was going to the hospital and would not be coming back home. He needed her to make sure that I made it. She was going to be in charge of my mental and educational well-being. Mrs. Norma did just that starting that day by not telling me what transpired. After school that day, I went home and waited for Dad. Time kept passing and no Dad. Mom was trying to find a way to tell me what had happened. Later that evening, when she had had more information about what his status was, she divulged to me what his current state was. Dad is in the hospital and they're unsure what is wrong. I thought, surely you're not telling me everything. She was indeed telling me all that she knew. What she did not tell me was how Dad was doing. Upon his admittance to the hospital, his body finally gave in to the issue that he had fought to show the effects of. His body needed to rest. It had not rested in more than 4 decades. Sure, he slept, but that sleep was a 4-hour schedule every night. He was the definitive hard worker. That hard worker had met his match today. He fought off many injuries and illness, but none of them prepared him for this. For sure, not, for sure, it did not prepare me. We all went to see him for a few days later. If there were any regrets in my life, it would be going there thinking I would be seeing my father. I did not see the man that I had played with these past years. I saw a man that had the face of my father, but his partial build, none of his exuberance. That light had faded from him. That was a bitter experience, yet one I would be reliving in more grandiose way in the upcoming month. The following week we went to see him again. This time I was prepped for his new look, or so I thought. He had changed again. He had lost so much weight that he was nothing like a he had lost so much weight that he was nothing like the mound of muscle I was used to. It did not stop me from climbing into his bed and getting my hugs. Father was never the kind of man to keep his love from you. Family or not, you were never at a loss about his view of you. That also meant that if he had issues with you, by the way, he was not a tongue biter. He welcomed the time to embrace me despite the pain level. He never let on that having me lay on him hurt. In the few weeks to come, he would undergo multiple surgeries to try and find out what was up. The doctors had no clue what was causing the pain. They eventually came across an anomaly that baffled them. I should tell you that the hospital on the island was not top notch. They were not up to the most modern medicines and operational procedures. This new thing they had been stumped on, it was not new. It was an aneurysm, more specifically an aortic aneurysm. It had gone untreated for who knows how long. It had grown to the point that pain had become the symptom. When they finally found it, they had no clue what to do about it and had to figure out while he waited. Eventually, they did manage to remove it and did what they had to do. Remember that I said that this was not the kind of facility that one would just get the best from. They were sorely lacking in many things, courtesy being one, but the greater lack being skill. After the surgery was over, they sewed him up poorly, very poorly indeed. His body started to reject the IV that they had given him. What was the reason, you may ask? Well, the aneurysm had ruptured by the time they did surgery. It had done damage, and they did a horrible job of cleanup, much less stitching him up. The pain was now the pain was not added the pain was now adding extreme itching as well. He would claw at the surgery site instantaneously and incessantly. After one of their repair jobs, we went to see him. Where once lay an emaciated man, now lay a swollen one. His body was fighting an infection, and the doctors did very little about it. They wrote it off as a side effect of the surgery. I hugged him, and he was hot, not warm to the touch, hot, burning almost. I could only hug him for so long before it became unbearable. He kissed me goodbye, and we left for the night. At least I thought it was only for the night. September was almost over with, and so was my affinity for going to the hospital. I wanted my father home and healthy. I wanted to go back to our routine of coffee and cuddles. I would have to put those plans on hold permanently. The following week we had made plans to go see him again. It had been almost a month now that he had been unable to go to work and admitted to the place he would call his final home. My last visit did not happen, however. He told Mom not to bring me when she was coming. He was sure to say not to bring anyone. I never got to see him again. I never got to say goodbye, a final I love you. No final hug. Mom came home that day to tell me that he was just too tired. I would find out later that this was only partially true. September 29th, 1984, we got a call at almost 1 a.m. in the morning. It was the hospital. I cannot remember why I was awake. To this day, I have no clue how past 8 p.m. I was allowed to be seeing anything other than the back of my eyelids. Yet, here I was, awake. The colors of the living room are still branded in my mind. A soft yellow light flooded the walls of the house, almost ethereal-like. A glow. Everything was doused in a yellow and green haze, even the phone that started ringing. Mom picked up the phone and spoke as though she was getting some expected news. She hung up the phone and turned to us and told us with tears in her eyes that Father had passed. It was his birthday. The yellow of the room went dull. Any light I had within me left in such haste that I forgot that light was even there to begin with. Shock was my only friend, and enemy was at the same time. And anger was creeping in, slowly at first, but progressively becoming more intense. Anyone seeing me would know what was going on within me. They didn't need to ask why I was angry. I said it to God, though. You know exactly why I'm angry. And chapter 3 begins, you know exactly why I'm angry. So those are the first two chapters of the book. Um, they were the hardest to write because they put me back in a place of extreme sorrow. Um, it is so crazy how much the mind remembers, especially of traumatic things, colors and smells. And I know I have more than 8 chapters to tell, but I'm only telling 8. I'm only taking you up to the point of my awakening to God as a father. So the rest of it will have to be for a second book. Because the chapters in my life isn't finished being written yet. Um, But you will get a good picture of my father in this book. Um, More so, you'll get a good picture of who I am and what made me me. Um, because for a long time, I didn't want to admit that pain produced something positive. I always thought that if you hurt, then the hurt can only produce more hurt, and it perpetuates itself and snowballs. That is not the case. Pain can produce a lot of wonderful things. One of the biggest things it can produce is a reckoning. It can give you a perspective on life that nothing else, unlike any other thing, can give you. Um, Joy is a good thing, but pain has a very specific thing that it does to your soul. Um, when I say it brands. Like for those who have been around either brands with animals or even tattooing, the pain that you feel, it leaves a permanent mark, an undeniable mark, a tag. Um, so don't be afraid of pain. Um, don't pray for it though, because trust me, there's enough to go around. You won't have to pray for it. Um, but let it happen because some of the most permanent growth happens out of pain. Some of the most permanent growth happens out of pain. But I wanted to share the book, at least the initial few chapters of it, um, and hopefully it encourages somebody by the end of it. Um, Chapter 3 and 4, um, as a heads up, um, 3 is extremely revealing about myself. Kind of like chapters 6 and 7 are going to be. Um, so if there are anything that you guys heard that you think could be better, different, oh, I will put it in audio. I'll be making sure to put it in audio. I'll do my own audio rendition of it. I'm not putting somebody else to do it. I'll be doing it myself. Um, um, but if there are things that you hear that could be adjusted, changed, um, you want to hear more of a part, an explanation of something. If you think I should expound on what got me to that location in a part of just if there's anything like that, please inbox me and let me know. Um, because I am looking for as much input as I can get that can make this a really a positive thing for people. I want it to be an encouragement. I don't want it to bog people down. I need people to get something from it. Um, I have been putting off writing for forever because it was a dad thing. That's going to be in the book too. Um, you see, he was big on having me read. Everything was reading. Read, 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 read. Make sure you read. You got to read. Read as much as you can. Read. I used to read the dictionary, and it got to a point where I wanted to write a book when I was little, a fiction book, but write a book. And I had a notepad half filled out with the whole story. I don't know what became of that book. I have no idea where it went, and I don't know what I even did with the story. I can only partially remember it, but it has always been something I wanted to do. Um, I never thought I'd be writing my own story, though. I always thought it'd be something else, but here I am, and relaying to you my little life story. So, for anybody who out there that's been going through some turmoil with a loss of a family member, um, or a close, parent or sibling, but someone close, um, this book I hope will walk you through the fluctuations of emotions that you'll feel. Because trust me, and I tell you, I've been on both sides of this thing. It's the more I think about it, the more I realize why I went through what I went through. Because I keep encountering people that are in that same place that I was, um, and it is amazing to see that pain hits everybody almost the same. It hits almost everybody the same. You go through this rage, and the rage that hits you almost is unbearable. Like you don't really know how to funnel it. You don't know where to put it. You just, especially if that person was extremely close and part of your life to the point where every living moment was around them. I fully get it, and I know the dark places it could take you. It took me there. So I'm hoping that in me relaying all of that information, I'm not going to hold back a whole lot of detail. There are some things I did withhold just because it was too graphic, um, and not necessary to the point of the story. But um, what God has been doing has been incredible. And this point, at this point in my life, the book is more of a triumphant thing as opposed to a sad story, because it does start off that way. Yeah, but it doesn't end that way. And so I want to make sure you guys are aware of that. Um, I'm hoping that I'll get done with it by the end of the year, hopefully by the fall. That's my goal, the fall. Um, if I can get it written and get all 8 chapters out, I need to sit down for a full day and do nothing but writing. That's what I need to do. Because it's in here and it's in here. I just need to get it out. Um, and once it's out, then I can get it to publishing and get it critiqued and all that stuff and get it ready and right and get the book art done. And I'll be doing my own. I don't want anybody else doing any book art because I want to put my father on the cover. Um, I want to come up with the title and my book cover myself. So, because I want this to be and that's not going to be up for debate. People are not going to tell me what cover I should use. I'm not doing that one. Um, I wish I had pictures to add, Megan. Um, a lot of the pictures I had of my father are all gone. Um, when we moved from island to island, a lot of his pictures were lost. Yeah, we had quite a few, and they were all gone. I had audio recordings of him singing too, and those are all gone. So the only thing I have now is what little memory I have of him in my head, and it's not very limited. I have a lot of memories of my pops. So, and they're seared in there. They're not leaving. Age, I don't. Not even age will take that away. So they may become more vivid with age. I can only assume. Which is why this book is even more important to me because I want to document what I knew about my father. Um, He was a good man. He was a very good man. One of the best. Anyway, um, the title Father in Fairness is a dual thing because it's not just one father. Um, but the fairness out of it is, what do we consider fair? Um, it really depends on what we consider fair. So, but the one good picture I do have of him will be the cover picture. That cover picture will be the one best picture I have of him, and I'll try and make that in full color if I can. Um, but he needs to be the focal point of the cover in some way, shape, and form. I haven't figured out how yet, but it will be. So, um, I want to thank you guys for listening to the book. Like I said, chapter 3 is already done. Um, Tweakings, of course, in grammar and punctuation and what I should add. But um, and yes, my mother will be in the book as well. I mean, she was part of my growing up, so I can't avoid talking about mom because she's an awesome woman too. But this book is focused around my dad. So, um, for your input, I would really appreciate, just inbox me anything you heard that you might want to get questions answered on. If you want me to expound on something that I touched on in the first two chapters, please let me know. Um, and I will try and take it into consideration, see where I can make the book more palpable for you people to read. Um, it'd be great. It'd be really appreciated. Um, I could say so much, but I will say this: that he has been that this has been a book within itself. So now I see how you are a man that you are. I would like to say a lot more, but I will save it for a later date. The Holy Spirit is working. You are feeding us all on our own diet, if you can understand what I'm saying. I'm honored to have been among the first to hear this, and I'll be sitting on just my seat for the selling of your book. Thank you, Donna. Mama Donna, thank you. Um, it will be a good healing process for me, I have no doubt. Um, the good thing that God, and this is a God thing too, that when I'm writing it, as heavy as the stuff I'm writing is, He doesn't let me get into my emotions writing it. It just comes out. And I type, and I'm going, and I don't even focus on the emotional side of that story. It just comes out. And that's what happened with those two chapters. Rereading it is tough, but writing it didn't affect me at all. I just did it. And I thank him for that, because I don't think I could write it and have the emotional context coming through at the same time. I think I'd never finished the book. I'd never finished the book. So he's been doing his work to get it done too. So I think he does want it out there. So we'll see. But yeah, hey, that might not be a bad idea to release it on Father's Day. But I think I want to release it on his birthday. My goal is September 29th. That's my goal. I want a midnight release, maybe 1 o'clock release in the morning. Um, if I could get it released on his birthday, I'd be happy. Um, so I have some time to go, but I have little time to finish production, post production, all that stuff takes time. So um, I was not the only child. Um, I'm one of eight. I am the last of eight. There are only six of us left. I lost two brothers already. Um, one to cancer and one to kidney failure. One was a drinker. They too will be in the book in a later chapter. So yeah, I'm the baby. I'm the last of the Mohicans. I'm also the last of the ones on the line to really carry on the kind of um, dad's name. So no, the first two chapters are not on YouTube yet. This is the first time anyone's hearing them anywhere. So this video will be the only way you can hear the first two chapters. It won't be anywhere else right now. And Rumble. It'll be on Rumble. So my goal is September 29th. If I can make it happen at 1 o'clock a.m., I'm going to make it happen at 1 o'clock a.m. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I have some work to do. If that's the case, I need to be done writing by the middle of May. I have to be done writing everything by the middle of May if I'm going to get this produced and dropped off by September 29th. So I have a lot of work to do. But considering that he dropped 2 chapters in my lap in one day, I should be okay. I should be okay if I just go right when he tells me to go right and not sit down and not do it. So thank you again for being in the chat room. I'm honored to be put in this position to share this story because many people are without the kind of memory I have of my father. Many don't have that memory. While I don't have him with me, the time I did have with him was so special. It was not even, it's not forgettable at all. I'll remember it forever. So um, I look forward to finishing the book and look forward to sharing with you guys. Um, I don't know if I'll have a way to sign each copy. That's the hope. I can have a way to sign each copy before it goes out. I have to figure all that out. Corey's going to help me get the book. He has a publishing place, so Corey's going to help me with that part of it. So he doesn't know that yet, but he will be helping me get it published. He has no choice. He has to. So hopefully I can get each copy signed with a little bit of something in it. And it will have my trademark "Wisdom Calls You from the Street" in there. Not mine, but I'm taking it for me. So thank you guys for all your support. I really, really do thank you for all your support. Um, I couldn't do this without you guys. Um, he has put you guys in this time in front of me to help with everything, and I appreciate it. I really do. Um, if you want to contribute to getting everything off and running for the book, um, the Cash App is down there. That'll help things moving. Um, and I encourage you, if you have a story to share, and it may not be, something that could go into a book format, but what I also want to do is to gather story from people around that I know. Um, um, to put it all in a book and call it The Journey. That's another thing I want to do. I want to call the book The Journey. And it's a compilation that I want to put together of people's stories of their walk, a rough time that they made it through, struggle. That's the second thing I want to do. That's another venture I want to go. So if you have stories that you want to share, that you would like to go into this book, I want to put together about I don't know, about 100 people in this book. It should be a pretty big book, and I want to put it together. It'll have, if you're willing to share your picture, do it, and we'll go from there because I do want to put that into a book format called A Journey. If you're up for it and you want to be in it, send me. Uh, my email will be on my YouTube link. I should have an email out there. If it's not, it's on my Tell It Like It Is page. It's mrabrown at outlook.com. Send me all your info there. mrabrown with an E at outlook.com. And we'll put your book in, your little excerpt in that book called A Journey. Um, so I thank you guys again. May God bless you for the rest of your day. And I'll see you guys this afternoon with Corey um, to talk about Thor. That one will be, anyway. So thank you for listening. Um, Share if you can. And again, if any input about the book, send it to my inbox on Messenger. And I will make sure I run through all of them and see what's up. As usual, wisdom calls to you from the street. Please, 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 please find wisdom. Peace.